Hi, I'm Hisham from Tech65 and we are now at Cake Images. Here with me we have Callan. Today we're gonna, this is like a combined review between Tech65 and Cake Images. Basically we're gonna talk about the Sony Alpha Nex-7. So Sony NEX-Alpha 7, something like that. Right. So before we go into that, can you explain a little bit more about yourself and Cake Images?
Yeah, sure. I'm Callan. Cake Images is pretty much a company that is formed between three partners. Myself, Kevin, and there's Jingwen. We came from three separate backgrounds, so we decided to go into business together. We have a studio of our own in North Bridge Road. This is where we are. With our background, we're actually pretty much commercial and lifestyle and portrait photographers. That's what we want to do. We have a pretty strong portfolio, I think, in food as well. What we do is we take real life pictures, because as photographers we don't really care too much about the technical specifications of the camera. The important thing to us is whether the cameras and the equipment that we use deliver the results that we want, because we do shoot for some high-end corporate clients, so they would want some good quality pictures with that. So as long as it doesn't get in our way, we shoot real life pictures. So that's what our side of the review will be about.
Yeah. So as part of your work, you are basically mostly on using SLR cameras, right?
Yes.
Today we're going to talk about something that's more compact.
Yes.
Next.
Way more compact.
Way more compact. But before we get onto that, do you have your own experiences with compact cameras, which is on a performance basis, not the cheaper ones?
On a performance basis, yeah. I personally do not like compact cameras simply because my hands are pretty big. So it needs to be a certain form factor. In fact, all three of us, I think we don't really use compact cameras that much. I know Jingwen has an LX3, a Panasonic LX3, which he used previously quite often. We like small cameras. We actually do, despite the fact that we have rather large cameras that we use in the course of our work. We actually love small cameras because we can carry them everywhere. But performance level wise, being used to the results of a large camera, we don't like cameras that are too small. So far what we've tried, we haven't bought them, but we've tried certain cameras from our friends, things like the Olympus E3, small form factor cameras with smaller sensor. I think we've come a long way from the times where we had 3 megapixel compact cameras. We've come to an aps-c size, which is rather large for this form factor. And I think the results are getting to a place where most people can't really argue with them anymore. They deliver pretty good results these days, which is why we are so curious when Sony launched this NEX-7. We really wanted to get our hands on one and try it out, because there has been a lot of hype. We want to know whether it deserves the hype, and we want to know how well this performs in our own interests, because in my background I'm a street photographer, so there are certain things that are more important to me. And Jingwen is a nature and still life person, so that the other section where cameras perform will appeal to him. We've even managed to run this through a little studio test with some of our clients.
Studio test? Actually your normal shoot?
Yeah, correct. We've had some clients come in last week for a portraiture shoot. So we've actually managed to stick studio lights, trigger studio lights with this by sticking on a trigger. So we've had that experiment as well. So it's not just our personal interest that will dictate this. It's also, we've managed to put this through their paces at our normal course of work, and it's acquitted itself pretty well. The picture quality is not too bad without spoiling too much. It's actually pretty good.
Okay. So what were your initial expectations before you touched this camera? I mean, before I passed you the camera, what were your initial expectations of the camera?
Okay, this camera was announced last year. I mean, now it's 2012. Yeah. We've seen sample pictures. The expectations were pretty high, because it's got something that most other camera manufacturers have gone to, the integrated electronic viewfinder, which is critical in our area of work. And because of that, and because we know that it can accept adapters for third-party lenses, I personally had quite high expectations for them. But I tried to temper them because it is a new product. All we had seen is either speculation or sample pictures, and that doesn't say much. When it's put in your hands and you use it, that is the experience that counts. So I've tried to temper that. I think a lot of people in Singapore are waiting to have this in their hands as well. I know Mr. Brown himself has had a loaner when he was engaging. I know some friends who've tried to actually ask me, oh, you have the NEX-7, can I touch it? It's pretty much very anticipated. I believe Mike Johnston of the online photographer has also said that this is the most anticipated camera, most desirable camera for 2012. And it says a lot because Sony is, although they are relatively new to the market, they bought over Konica Minolta, so there is a legacy that they have to live up to. And from the looks of it, from everything we've seen and read, before I even touch the camera, I think they're on the right track. But we'll have to see what happens when we actually run through it.
Okay. So, touching on the camera, what was your initial first impressions?
First impression was, despite it being small, I mean, I expected the build quality to be better than the NEX-3s and the 5s. I expected it to be slightly heavier, but somehow it still feels very light. It is very, very light. And I'm not comparing this to our usual daily course of work. It is still relatively light, small, easy to handle. And when it comes to the ergonomics, because of the addition of the EVF, it's actually quite impressive. And the navigation system, they have this tri-navi thing where there are 3 dials that are easily accessible via your thumb. I think the ergonomics and the feel of the camera is actually pretty solid.
That is actually new for NEX-7. That
is new for NEX-7, exactly. This is stuff that they've put in, and it's working pretty well. I mean, I've had no problems switching settings on the fly. I've had no problems looking through the viewfinder and getting an accurate representation. These parts and the feel of the camera, it may feel light, but it does feel solidly built. If we were to compare this build quality-wise to things like the Olympus EV3 or the GX1, I think you would be quibbling if we say this is not as well built. The Olympus has an edge if we are comparing, but that's a completely different camera system. They've made it look and feel like a rangefinder, which this is not supposed to be. This is clearly meant, okay, it's a large sensor camera. We've given you a large sensor so we can fit really nice lenses in front of it. So I don't want to compare between those two systems. They're really different.
Okay.
And this, despite the fact that it's light, it doesn't feel too cheap. That's the critical part. It doesn't feel like a typical compact camera where you think it's plastic. It doesn't. So I think it's a passing rate for this. I would give it a pretty high score.
Okay. Since you don't use much of the since you use more of the EVF, electronic viewfinder, I suppose the additional functions for the LCD to pop up doesn't really matter to you.
It matters a little bit because I mean, I'm a street photographer by hobby. That's what I do in my free time. This actually helps because it will allow you to do waist level shooting, much like a TLR or a medium format camera. So what you do is I can just pull up the flip screen a little bit, and if I'm doing this, people wouldn't know I'm actually taking a picture. So this actually helps in some cases. Some people may feel a little bit more paranoid having a lens pointed at them, regardless. But it is a little bit more respectful. You're not pointing in someone's face like this.
I think a pancake lens will do better.
A pancake lens will do better, definitely. But I mean, there are physical limitations. I mean, I can understand the science behind it. So I mean, for the NEX, it is rather difficult to create a smallish lens to fit the sensor to cover the entire image area. But I think, like what you said, a lot of people are looking forward to more compact lenses to fit this system. In that sense, the Micro Four Thirds have succeeded tremendously, but because they have a smaller sensor. So that helped them a lot. But in this case, the flip screen is actually very, very useful. And I imagine it will be more useful because I've actually managed to get this into the hands in this couple of weeks that I've had it, into the hands of a person who does a lot of video. And his comment was the screen helps a lot because he can achieve different kind of angles without stretching too much. Doesn't need to be on top of the ladder. Doesn't need to squat down too much. It helps a lot. And the screen quality, because it's rather large, it's quite clear. And you add that to the focus peaking capabilities, the screen is actually quite a revelation for photographers. So I suspect the video guys would love this camera probably even more than the still photo guys.
Okay.
That seems to be the reception I'm getting. The people who do a lot of video, this is good. They haven't had any quibbles with it. They liked it, and that's with the default setup with the kit lens. So imagine what can be done with better lenses like the Zeiss 24mm that's supposed to be launched with this camera.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Let's go on to the actual shooting part. I mean, for me personally, I'm still a spammer. I like to take fast shooting shots because due to myself, I'm not really stable, so I try to take as many shots as possible. This has that similar function, but then for yourself, when you use this camera, what matters to you most? The fast focus or
what impressed me most?
yes, what impressed you most?
Actually, what impressed me most wasn't just only the fast focus, it was the fact that it was small and unobtrusive. The important thing is people do not feel threatened when I raise this close to them, when I raise this to my eye. Because it feels like a tourist camera.
SLR.
Exactly, because if you raise an SLR, the lenses are commensurately much bigger, and people tend to get out of your way, which is not what I want because I photograph. This is far less threatening, and because it is light, after a long day of shooting, you won't feel that tired. So I guess that kind of improves the handling, it improves your photos as well, because you're not thinking, oh, I'm tired, I need a seat, I need a drink. You don't. It's a comfortable camera to carry on all day, and it gets you the results that you want, it's the high resolution. So the fast focusing was quite surprising because I honestly did not expect it to be that good, especially with the kit lens. So,
but as a photographer, as a professional photographer, or just as a photographer, do you prefer to do manual focusing most of the time, or you depend on
Personally, I do a lot of manual focusing because on my own I use old cameras that do a lot of manual focusing. Even on my SLR system, I have a lot of manual focus lenses. So that's my habit. But
when it comes to this,
with the focus peaking, the manual focusing actually works pretty well. It works, I mean, it's got what I found out was it's got 3 different colors for focus peaking to tell you where there is the most contrast, to indicate what parts of the photo are in focus. And we've tried it out wide open with a manual lens at f1.4. It works pretty well. I mean, you can choose red, yellow, or white. And the white is a silvery shimmer that I think works very well for me. Even in bright daylight, as long as there's enough contrast, it will pick it out. And I really, really like that. It's very responsive. Once you turn it, you can see the image coming into focus, and you can see the peaking confirming your instincts are right. So the EVF, in conjunction with that, makes it a joy to use with all the manual focus lenses. And if you are not into that, then the AF is probably your kind of bag. And it's very, very effective, even for the kit lens. So I'm really looking forward to Sony introducing more lenses, probably putting some of the higher end stuff in it, and that's what is making people excited. Not only the old guys with rangefinders can put their lenses on, all the M lenses, your Konica hexagon, it doesn't matter. All these lenses can fit onto this with an adapter. And even if you are not into that, if they release a full line of lenses, I think people should be very excited about this. It's actually really good. The AF speed was surprisingly high.
anything else?
Anything else with this? If I were to make a recommendation, it would be to, like many other professional photographers who work in a studio, please change your hot shoe, because this is a proprietary hot shoe.
This is a Sony shoe.
This is a Sony shoe, which is a carryover from the days of Minolta.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite fit into your standard hot shoe trigger kind of equipment. I mean, I understand they're going to release, they have flashes for the system and all, but if they had changed this hot shoe without the need for an adapter, the usage of this in both outdoor and indoor commercial lighting would be so much better, because I mean, I've seen the photos, I haven't processed all of them. Right out from camera, the sharp, they're contrasting, they are useful, they have the resolution that you need to print rather large. And this is probably a good compromise for people who don't want to carry around a large photograph, a large camera, and still want to get results. And the hot shoe is one of those little quibbles. I mean, yeah, we can do it with a hot shoe adapter. We can put pocket wizards and stuff on it. But that's an extra layer that people really don't need.
Yeah, because it's already complex. You don't want to add anything.
Exactly, you don't want to add on to it.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to add too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah. But the EVF is the integrated EVF is a stroke of genius. This is the one that has gotten a lot of the old rangefinder guys excited because we don't need to add on an EVF on the outside.
Okay.
And the EVF quality is surprisingly very, very good, especially in daylight. I mean, indoors, it suffers from the usual EVF noise gain, but it doesn't really affect the pictures. What you see in the EVF is 1.4 million dots, which shows you, oh, it looks like a very noisy picture, but the noise is very well controlled. So even in low light situations, we're talking about ISO 3200, I think it's pretty acceptable. And this is coming from a guy who owns we own a 5D. I mean, there's no competition.
It's okay to mention brands, it's fine.
Yeah, there's no competition when it comes to high ISO performance, when it comes to things like a 5D, or if you own a D3, a Nikon version, or D700. I think you'll be very hard pressed to complain about the noise characteristics of this. I mean, there's so much resolution in this. It's got more than the 5D, and twice as much as the D700 and D3. And it's a really good compromise. It doesn't tire you out. It's got an excellent EVF. The focus is fast. It's faster than some of the older large SLRs that we've had. It's faster than any of the entry-level DSLRs, which cost about the same.
Yeah.
They cost about the same. So if this would appeal to amateurs, and just a few more touches would make it appeal to professionals like myself. And this is for us, because it's unlikely we'll give up on our SLRs anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right? For Cake, our final product are always prints, and we print large, things like 36 by 24 inches. So it's pretty big prints that we are aiming for as our final result.
So this is a 24.3 megapixels, so it can possibly print quite big?
30 inches by 20 inches without enlargement.
Without enlargement.
And that is a huge print.
Yeah.
Very few people order that kind of large prints.
Yeah.
Most of it is overseas customers. And
I mean, we've gone through all this discussion about megapixels, but in your field, this is can be acceptable in a sense.
it can be acceptable. Correct. It can be acceptable in a fully working professional environment with just a few more tweaks. One of which is a hot shoot.
Yeah.
If they can improve the EVF, which I suspect they will, then you'll make it even more appealing. And the tri-navy system, it works pretty well. One more thing that I really don't like is the menu system. The menu system. It's a problem with these compact cameras, because with SLRs you have a lot of real estate to place buttons for direct access.
Yeah.
And while they've done pretty well with the tri-navy system, when you have to go into the menu to make changes, sometimes certain things can be a little bit hard to find, or you have to scroll through a lot of options before you find it, and that could be bothersome. But I think this is a problem not only with this series of cameras, it's a problem with most small cameras, simply because there are not enough buttons and dials on it. To simplify it down.
Simplify, it's small, it's compact.
Correct. But what they've done, this little thing that a lot of other camera systems still don't have for the menu, is when you have a menu item that you are last in, when you open the menu, it goes right back to that last item. So you can change it back and forth rather quickly, which is quite good, but please simplify it down. If they simplify that down, they give me a better EVF, and easy to manage hot shoe without an adapter. This would be a perfect second camera for any professional. In fact, I can see this taking over the wedding market because the shutter sound is quite nice and it's quite quiet. And it's good. It's good for situations where you don't want to disturb a ceremony that's in process.
It is.
Yeah, and it's great in that sense. So just a few more tweaks that will really make.
Definitely, they definitely come up with more tweaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, one final question about performance-wise. What do you think about the battery performance? It's small, it's compact, but
the battery performance is pretty good.
really?
I have to say, I was expecting it to be like the Leica M9, which in my previous review I hammered quite badly because the battery has a problem. Leica, I hope you are listening. The battery has a problem. At 72%, it tells me there's a battery warning. It lasts about 250 shots without review. This lasts about 300 to 400 with an EVF that's integrated and is switched on all the time. I think that's brilliant. 300 to 400 shots on a single charge. And we mix in a bit of video. It's never gotten to a point where I can't use the camera anymore. after a full day of shooting with some video mixed in, it dropped down to about 25%. That was as low as I ever got it. And I shoot a lot.
Yeah.
When I'm on the street, I shoot quite a fair bit. And it's that good. So for a small camera, it's got quite a long-lasting battery. If you're used to the compact camera, you wouldn't complain about this battery at all. It's better than Leica's. And for Leica, you have to pay $10,000 for it.
Yeah. Okay. Enough of that. Okay. Final thing. Do you have anything that you since we are just starting 2012, I thought it would be good to see if you can say what things that you are expecting from Sony NEX-7.
From the next series. The next series. Yeah. From the next series, I think we can expect a lot more lenses, because right now they've got a whole line of bodies. From the NEX-3 to the C3 was the last one, and the 5N. So they've covered all the beginner and the entry level markets, and this is obviously meant for the enthusiast, high-end enthusiast market. The bodies are all there. I think it's great. I think the bodies all serve a certain market, and they are priced really well. What really need to do is, the kit lens is pretty good. The kit lens that comes with it is pretty good, but they really need to come out with a whole series of high performance primes to capture that enthusiast market. I mean, if they have a lot of high performance primes, if they give me, I mean, the size 24 is a good first step. Yeah. If they can give me something like a 35mm, which will cover the 50mm point of view, and a slightly longish one, maybe like 60mm, which will cover -3mm, maybe either as a macro lens or as a medium telephoto portrait lens, then this thing is ready for prime time. I think a lot of pros will jump over.
Okay. Okay. Right. So I think that's about a good comprehensive review on Robot on the NEX-7. Thanks. Thanks, Sony, for joining me in this. As for Cake, anything that we can expect for 2012?
Yes, we are actually in the process of touching up our websites a little bit. We are moving forward with a whole series of plans for workshops, because we decided that we want to raise, overall, with a few photographers, raise the general bar of photography in Singapore, beyond just talking about gear, into actually making photographs and respecting it as an art. So we're doing a lot more workshops. We're going to do a black and white development workshop, some street photography workshops. We're also moving into studio lighting workshop, because we've realized that we rent out our studio from time to time when we're not using it. Okay. And there are a lot of enthusiasts who come in with their cameras, but they're not sure what to do. So we're going into that. We're going to teach you how to manipulate light. We're going to teach you how to play with it.
And I don't know anything about strobes.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to sign up for the class. And I'm sure we'll be able to fit you in for one of our test classes, because we have to run some tests in order to make sure that the classes work and we can actually understand, because we don't want to charge people money for coming for 4 or 5 hours and walking away not knowing what happened. So we want to make sure that that is something that everyone can benefit from different levels. Even those pros who are starting out, but maybe they shoot outdoors all the time, you still need to know a bit of the studios. Because once you know the studios, you move it outdoors, then you're able to apply some of that knowledge. So we're going to teach more of those, and our basic workshops will continue. We're going to put a lot more personal type of work up, because, like I said, we are from different backgrounds. Yep. Kevin is a studio guy, so he'll be putting more of his own studio type of shots. I'm a street photographer guy, so we can expect some changes to our portfolio. Okay. More of our personal work will go out there, and we welcome any kind of critiques or any kind of help. Or if you guys need to talk about anything photography, just come to us.
Cool. All right. I think that covers it all. Thank you so much, Callan, for this interview.
Thank you so much, Sony, and to Tech65 for letting us have a play with this.
I think I'll be expecting you to write about it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
No, we generally don't slam a camera. There are really very few bad cameras out there these days. There are only some quibbles that we will put in. Sure. And you can expect a post that contains all 3 of our opinions, because we've put them through different settings. Yeah. So we will look at it from different points of view.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that's it. Sean from Tech65. Check out our new website. We have a revamp. It's still the same website, www.tech65.org. You may subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/65bits. And here is Sean signing off. Thank you.